Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thanks so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. If this is something you end up enjoying, you never know, it could happen. Well, this is my monthly update for the month of August, and then we're going to get into might be read TBR for the month of September. So let's jump into what did I read for the month of August. So as you may or may not know, I did participate in a readathon, and it turns out that is the best way to inflate my numbers. Now, Goodreads is very happy with me with my goal for the year because I went from, I think, 3 books behind to actually caught up and then some. So anyway, I'm very proud of myself here. We caught up and then some, and we're over the mark. It just keeps like adding to it for some reason. My goal is like 52 for the year. And I'm in the 30s. So let's talk about what I actually read for the year, and I'm going to go over just the goals that the readathon things that I hit, if you care about it. But anyway, first things first, I did read Castle in the Air. This is Howl's Moving Castle, number 2 by Diana Wynne Jones, which technically is a sequel. It doesn't have a lot of similar things, although I guess anymore, and I'll spoil too much, and I don't want to. It's just it's great. Howl's Moving Castle is still the best. It's still though got that magical, like lyrical. I love her just way of just drawing you in with her prose. Diana Wynne Jones is just one of my favorites for a reason. I keep trying to get all my kids to read her, and I've been successful to some degree. We're reading Howl's Moving Castle right now. So anyway, it's good stuff. That actually met Summer's Ball, which included, because there was a romance. Anyway, got it. Then I read a book with a dark cover. That would be Black Cauldron, and that was Blind Sight by Peter Watts. This is one of those, it's like science fiction, kind of legends it's become, and it was excellent. And it kind of takes this idea of like, what is human to like the maximum degree, or at least a very heavy degree. It's a very good, just thought-provoking book that I constantly am thinking about. When does a human like not become human? Like, when are they not actually human? When is a sentient thing a sentient thing, whether it be alien or whatever, and when is it not? When is it just a machine, essentially? I just thought there were some good, just thought-provoking things in this, and so I was able to read that, and it was very good, very highly recommended, especially if you're a science fiction fan. I like these, like, science fiction's great about just this, like, let's take this concept and just like explore the crap out of it. So, and obviously there's more to it than just that, but I really like that. Lots of good space. It kind of reminded me in some degrees to Project Hail Mary, and I know this came out well before Project Hail Mary, but there's some things about it that made me kind of go, Project Hail Mary, I don't know, just tell me if you think the same thing, if you've read them both. But it kept coming up, and I kept making the connection there. Then I got Halfling Village. This was essentially a manga you could read, or a book under 200 pages. So anyway, I did read Deadpool Samurai. I actually did 2, so I could count either of them, as you'll see. Deadpool Samurai, I'll be honest, not my favorite of all time. It was fun for the first like third, and then it's like the whole thing is just fourth wall breaks, and you're like, and even was from the beginning, but you kind of like, okay, so literally every single page is fourth wall breaks. Like, I've read some Deadpool, it's not that much. The movies, they're not like, it's some like commentary in here and there, and it's even, you could say, a heavy amount, but is it like this constant? It's just like, hey, did you know that I'm breaking the fourth wall? Hey, guess what? I'm breaking the fourth wall again. Every second. And it was just like, and it was kind of funny because it was like making fun of the publisher, but it was just too much. And it was just like, there's not even a plot here. It was just breaking the fourth wall is still the thing we're doing. It's our gimmick. So anyway, not a big fan, to be honest. But something I was a big fan of was Gateway by Frederick Pohl. This is another, I don't know, some of these classic sci-fi, I had to definitely make my readathon goals. And so that means instead of my 1,000-page books that I've been reading for the last couple of months, I went for super short just to hit all my goals. And so I did read Gateway by Frederick Pohl, which is a Hugo and Nebula Award winner. There are very few of those. Ender's Game being one of them, I believe. I love the concept. It might be a little too like product of its time for me though, to like, I don't know if I'd reread. It was frustrating as far as like the whole thing. Like the guy was just this ladies' man and everything was about like the next romantic encounter. It got a little like tiresome for me, and I'm just like, maybe just me. Some of the things the main character, I need to go into a spoiler. Like I clearly need to do a review on this. Some of the things the main guy does are very bad, and I'm like, is this a product of his time, or am I just like, or is he supposed to like you're not supposed to like him? So there's kind of that too. So. There's parts that you like about the main character, but then I mean some of these events you're just like, what the heck? But the concept of just like, hey, we found this like alien place, they call it Gateway, and there's all these alien ships on it, and nobody really knows much about them other than like certain ones will like take you to certain places. You could get rich off of like artifacts or something that you find, or you could get nothing, or even worse, you just die because you went to a black hole or a star went supernova and you went back to that spot that again the ship was just like programmed to go to. So it's a really cool concept. I really liked it, and it really just has you thinking. Not in so much of a science fiction kind of like hard science fiction way, but in like that's kind of a cool concept. And it's fun to kind of explore, and you're like, oh, what would you do and what would you try to do? Because it's like people trying to make names for themselves and whatnot, and make it rich and stuff. And so it's a bit of a gold rush kind of situation. And anyway, it's really cool. It's like so many things are very cool about this. Overall, it was still a struggle though at times, and then especially when your main character isn't it's kind of despicable, and I'll leave it at that. That was the Moss Isley readathon prompt, and then we get to Rebel Encampment, which is the indie pub prompt, and I did read We Men of Ash and Shadow by H.L. Tinsley. I promised I would do that. H.L. Tinsley's been really nice to and provided review copies, so I was like, I need to get to her books, and I've also had people recommend this book specifically, We Men of Ash and Shadow, and it definitely lived up to the hype. It was great, very like it's a grim, dark fantasy book, independently published, kind of almost like it's like an urban fantasy, but like medieval urban fantasy, if that makes any sense, because you kind of follow a couple core group of individuals, and I just thought in a town and kind of what they get up to like in this place, it was pretty good and really well written, really well done. Definitely looking forward to more and want to read. I think there's a sequel already too, so need to read some more. And I mentioned this as well, that I did read Attack on Titan #3. I had time. I like suddenly found myself finishing up my whole readathon, all 5 books, and then I still had time, which is crazy. So I figured I had this ready to go. Might as well read it. They're fun. They're kind of crazy. That's kind of what I go to them for. They're nuts. Some of the nuts things that happen in here. Lots of fun though. And if you like kind of survival zombie monster stories, so good stuff there. Then I did read So Long and Thanks for All the Fish. Finally got to it. It took me long enough. I did start this a while, but I was worried. I had to get through all my readathon picks to make sure I got, I represented well for my people. So I got those done. I finished that finally. Not my favorite in the series. It's still good. It's still fun, and there's still lots to quote. but it is so hard to beat. Hitchhiker's Guide is just the pinnacle, and I do feel like they kind of just go downhill from there. Restaurant at the End of the Universe is pretty much at the same level, but definitely a step down. And then Life, the Universe, and Everything was kind of like, we went all in on cricket, I guess, and pizza math. And then this one just doesn't really even get started till like halfway, and that's just kind of like in a 200-page book. Come on. But again, still clever, fun things throughout. They always start really where I'm just cracking up right away, so they do draw you in. But anyway, a little rough. I actually did read 8 books total, which is like a new record for me and for the channel. Holy cow. 8 books total. I count the mangas because those 1,000-pagers should really count as like 3 books a piece. Come on. So I'm okay counting a book that's pretty short, pretty much a lot shorter and way easier and faster to read. I count them, okay? It's okay. We all do our own thing. But I did read one more book. This was one just as a GAL. It was one of my kiddos that I represent that we just kind of had a mini book club. If any of them are readers, like, you better believe I jump on that. And if they say, I'm going to read this book and they want me to jump on with it, I'm going to do it too. I got to encourage it, and I love it. Didn't love the book, and they didn't either, for the record, so I feel good about that. But anyway, always happy to do that, but I'm not even going to, it was not in my genre, not even close. It was like Christian romance, so I wasn't even close to what I usually read. So it wasn't fair, and I don't feel like it's fair to even mention it, so I won't, because it's not something I ever plan to read. But again, I'd do it again in a heartbeat if it encourages reading for one of my kiddos. All right, Might Be Read TBR for the month of September. Let's do this. First of all, I promised one of my loyal viewers. I really appreciate it. I don't know if anyone ever wants to be named, and I will if you let me and want to be. But I promised I would do this, and I've already started, because that's how much time I had last month. This is a huge book, and I already started it. It's Malice by John Gwynne, and so far, so good. We're getting there. I feel like it's a slow burn, so I am still hopeful. I'm not like reading my eyes out or anything like that, but I'm feeling good about it, and there's interesting characters, an interesting world, lots of questions, all in a good way that I have just about like kind of like the history, the lore, like what's gone on and what, is leading to this, war or whatever thing that's happening. And anyway, lots of good stuff so far, so I'm very excited to keep going. But I thought, hey, let's jump on it. I have time for once in my life. Then I've been meaning to get to this, and so Michael J. Sullivan, it's been too long since I've read some of his books, so I wanted to get to this. Age of Myth. This is a series that's been on my TBR for too long now, and I wanted to read it. I'm excited to read it, to get into his kind of quick and punchy, fun fantasy books. I'm excited for that. Then I wanted to continue on with my read. I started Sundiver, and I found out that I actually do still own this trilogy. I'd mentioned that I didn't, and I got rid of it. I think I got rid of the sequel trilogy because I could not find it, but I did find this trilogy. So I'm going to read Startide Rising, which is again another Hugo and Nebula winner, which is for a sequel. Sundiver, it was fine, and it was good enough to keep reading, and I am excited because this is supposed to be like the good one, right? The best one. I love this cover, is crazy. Old school. And we're getting into some dolphins in space, okay? And I'm excited for that. Then, and I forgot my copy at home. I should have brought it. I wasn't even thinking. But I'm going to read Dawn Shard. I got to do it, by Brandon Sanderson. It's on my list. I want to keep on with my goal of getting to Rhythm of War and then be able to read Wind and Truth by later this year. So I'm very excited to keep going with that, to have another kind of sidetrack here, but it'll be fun. Then someone was posting about reading the Greenbone saga, and I just love that saga. Am I a masochist? Maybe, because it was full of just emotional torture and torment. But it was so good, and it will like stick with me forever. I just know it. But The Jade Setter of Jan Loon, I really want to read. So it's just a novella set in the same world. I've been that makes me want, like, somebody's reading about it and they're loving it, and I'm going, well, I still have some unread stuff, so I might as well jump onto it too. So again, this is a Might Be Read, so we're going to see what we get to. I now have overinflated hopes based on my last month of what I'll get to reading this month. Was invited to do a readathon, and or a read along, and not a readathon, a read along, and it is. The book was chosen based solely on what, for all intents and purposes, I don't know yet, I haven't read it, is a terrible title, and it's Bumside. So it just, we'll see what we get. And so I'm excited to read, hopefully a good book. We'll see. I don't know, but it has a hilarious title. So I'm excited to join a read along over a terrible title. So we'll get to that. Anyway, that's been my update, and then also TBR for last month, this month, all that stuff. Let me know, what are you reading in the comments below? Definitely anything standing out that I need to get to. Thanks so much for stopping by. We'll catch you next time. Bye.